Alright, so look up. So it's a new topic, complex lipids. Complex lipids. And as the name implies, complex lipids. Now, we already know from background knowledge that lipids are composed of two things. What and what? Fatty acid and what? And alcohol, right? So, generally, lipids are composed of fatty acid and what? And alcohol. So, if we have lipid, our simple lipid is equal to fatty acid and what? Alcohol. That's the simple lipid. Now, if we have fatty acid and alcohol plus an additional compound, it is no longer called a simple lipid, but a what? A complex lipid. Do you understand? I'll take that again. Simple lipid is composed of two things, what and what? Fatty acid and what? Alcohol. Now, if in addition to that fatty acid and alcohol, you add another compound, it is no longer a simple lipid, but now what? A complex lipid. Do you understand that? So, complex lipid is fatty acid plus alcohol plus another compound, which we are going to see. Do you understand that now? That complex lipid comprises of fatty acid and alcohol and an additional compound. Is that okay? Now, that being said, complex lipids can be divided into two. Listen up. I will give you the notes, but just listen up. Complex lipids can be divided into phospholipids and glycolipids. Phospholipids and what? And glycolipids. Now listen up. Phospholipids. What are you hearing here? Phospho, right? We already have lipid here, our simple lipid, which contains what and what? Fatty acid and what? And alcohol, right? Now, in addition to that fatty acid and alcohol here, we have what? Phosphate group attached, right? This is the additional compound attached, making it a complex lipid. Do you understand that? If we had only lipid here, what do we have? Just simple lipid, right? But in addition to this fatty acid and alcohol we already have here, we are having an additional compound, phosphate group, right? Making it a what? A complex lipid. Now, we have phospholipids and glycolipids. Now, in addition to the lipids we have here, the fatty acid and alcohol, what's the additional compound we are adding? What? This is generally representing carbohydrates. So in addition to the fatty acid and alcohol you have here, you are adding what? A carbohydrate moiety to it. Do you understand that? So complex lipids are generally broadly divided into two. Phospholipids, we are adding phosphate group, and glycolipids, we are adding what? Carbohydrate. Do you get that? Now, we said lipids contains fatty acid and what? And alcohol, right? Now, there are two kinds of alcohol that can be present, and we can classify our lipid based on the alcohol present. The alcohol can either be glycerol or sphingosine. The alcohol can either be what or what? Glycerol or what? Sphingosine. Now, if the alcohol present in this phospholipid is glycerol, we call it what? Glycerophospholipid. So this is just showing that the alcohol present is what? Glycerol. If the alcohol present is sphingosine, we call it what? Sphingophospholipid. Do you understand that? So if you are looking at glycerophospholipid, there are three components here. What? Glycerol, what again? Fatty acid and what? Phosphate group, right? Is it not? So the alcohol present here is glycerol, while the alcohol present here is what? Sphingosine. Good. If you are following, under glycerophospholipid, we have examples which we are going to synthesize all these things. All these things have pathways. But now we want to have an overview. An example of glycerophospholipid is phosphatidylcholine. Phosphatidylcholine what? Now let's look at the component of phosphatidylcholine. What do you think? Phosphatidylcholine contains what? Number one, phosphate group. Number two, phosphatidylcholine. Phosphate group, what else? Choline as the additional group, what else? Fatty acid. And what else again? The alcohol present is what? glycerol, right? Good. Phosphatidylethanol-amine. It contains phosphate, glycerol, fatty acid, and what? Ethanol-amine. Phosphatidylserine contains what? So phosphatidylserine contains what and what? Phosphate group. What again? Glycerol. What again? What again? Serine and what? That's all right. Okay, phosphatidylinositol, the same thing. We have cardiolipin, plasmalogen, platelet activating factor. As time goes on, we will see the components of all, how to draw them, and how to synthesize them. Sphingophospholipid, we say, what is the alcohol present here? Sphingosine, right? That is the alcohol present here. An example of sphingophospholipid is what? Sphingomyelin. We'll see it as we go on. Remember that we divided complex lipids into two. Phospholipids and what? And glycolipids, right? Good. Sphingolipids, phospholipids and glycolipids. Now, under glycolipids, we said the additional group in glycolipid is what? A carbohydrate, right? Examples of glycolipids, you can have cerebrocytes, globocytes, gangliocytes, and sulfatides. Globocytes, gangliocytes, sulfatides. So we'll see the components of this as we go on. So in general, in summary, what we've said about complex lipids is complex lipids have three main things, right? Fatty acid, alcohol, and an additional group, right? Good. And we said complex lipid can either be phospholipid or what? Or glycolipids. Yeah, what is the additional group here? And what is the additional group here? Carbohydrate, right? Good. So this is an overview of complex lipids. So as we go on to the next lesson, we'll see how to synthesize, how to draw all of this first. That's the next thing we want to do now. How we can draw them. And after drawing them, the next thing will be how we can synthesize them. And that will be all. Are we good to go?